Family and very warm welcome to our online viewers. Today's theme we have educate, elevate and enrich. Very interesting topic, and for that we have our speaker, Sister Kanan, with us today. Kanan has been studying and practicing Raja Yoga meditation with Brahma Kumaris over 30 years, raised in Kenya and educated in UK and India. And she has a blend of Eastern spiritual wisdom and Western education culture. And currently she is a part of Inner Space Family team. So please welcome Kanan. Thank you.
Okay, so Shanti. So let's just begin. Thanks, Kapil, for the introduction. Is that okay? So begin with a few minutes of silence to just ground ourselves and come back to our central focus. Om Shanti. So today's topic, educate, elevate and enrich. And so as I was thinking about this topic, I was reminded by Sister Daksha that it really is in context to the celebrations for the week of the refugees. So apparently the centers do know that refugees in today's world, they're not being treated that well, are they? And so in order to bring awareness, to actually have this attitude of kindness and compassion towards them and mercy, one needs to just be aware that they do have a place in society. Looking at it from the perspective I was sharing this afternoon, that I've never met a refugee, so I don't know really what it's all about. But I've been listening to quite a few stories on the YouTube, and I can sympathize with them. Can you imagine being overnight, thrown out of a country and have to flee because of some chaos or conflict that has suddenly emerged and no one knows the reason as to how, why, what. And suddenly overnight you're thriving for just life, that okay, maybe I survive and maybe I don't survive, and if I do, then what are my dreams? And so refugees really have to work deeply on their dreams. They can't really work on having a family or being with a family because their families are all dysfunctional at that time. So you can imagine how they have to work hard to recreate a family, to recreate their bonds, to recreate trust in themselves and others. That's a lot of work, starting from nothing. And so you can see that their struggles are very visible. And so more and more we can see in the world today, whether it's countries or whether it's natural calamities, it's the same situation, isn't it? Yeah, overnight there's an earthquake, or overnight there's a tsunami, overnight there's a storm and your house is gone, or your money is gone, or your relatives are gone. Then who am I? Where do I go? What do I do? And how do I build trust back into the system? Trust in life, trust in God. If there is one, if you feel bitter, you don't want to remember Him. Yeah. So it's very interesting to be in a position where you have to start again. And so to educate oneself, to start again, to build resilience, I first need to be very at home with the first lesson. The first lesson that I'm sure the viewers also online know, and all of you know. Who am I? Bringing back the inner dignity from a pure and truthful space. Who am I? And so when I begin to become at home with that awareness, I am a being, a soul in a human body. So a refugee is also a human being. So you can imagine, if I am a being in the human, then I have full opportunity. Why? Because my original quality in nature is full of love, peace, happiness, wisdom, truth. These are the natural qualities of the soul. And we forget that very easily. And that's why we become disheartened. And so that's the simple tip of education, to remind oneself of who I am. But not only that, I remind myself of who the one in front of me also is. They are also souls. They also have peace, love, happiness, power, wisdom in them. And so when I begin to forge a relationship on the basis of soul consciousness, then there is that positivity and hope and kindness and compassion coming back into the system. But if I look at them from the opposite side, then suddenly I have excuse to bring all the barriers in front of me, that they're like that, and they've come from this place, and that's the history, and that's the mindset, and that's the way it is and was. And then we judge and base the person from that angle. And so that vision never stays alive. And that's perhaps one of the things I loved about Daddy Janki. You know, being with her was so refreshing to know that she'd look at each one as a soul. And how would one know that she'd look at each one as a soul? Within the first 5 minutes, she would have detected everything about that individual. Whereas a normal person would take an hour or two to discover the person. She'd only need 5 minutes. She'd have looked at them very sweetly, asked them, where have you come from? Have you eaten? Is your family okay? What would you like? How long are you here for? And is there anything that you need to solve? Is there any issue you have? Are you okay? That's it. And with that, she would have already figured out where that one was from. And so each one was a child of God for her. And so when you have the habit, and I'd seen this, when they've had the habit of looking at one as a child of God, each one means a human being that is breathing, that is eating, that is sleeping, that is walking, that is talking, that is part of this world and this globe. It has a value. The soul has value. And so when you acknowledge the soul and the life in front of you, then it's as if you've given life to them. You've just acknowledged. That's it. Doesn't take much. And so education is about learning. Education is not about what you know. Education is about learning. It's about understanding and growing, not only about others, but also the self. And so when I begin to discover my value, when I begin to discover what I contribute to the world every day and how I contribute to the world every day, in which way, then I begin to feel, yes, life is worth living. And even more, I know my purpose. I know what it is that I want to achieve. And then life begins to grow. And that's when you begin to make steps to go forward. And in going forward, there can be multiple obstacles. And so when you have a mission or you have a purpose, you begin to discover the most amazing lessons that you've never discovered in your life before. But those lessons are also part of your appreciation. Those lessons are also part of your education. Those lessons are part of your transformation. And so when I begin to see life's challenges as my own inner work to grow, then once the lesson is learnt, another will appear. And once that lesson is learnt, another will appear. But what's the benefit? Some will think, do I have to keep learning all the time? Haven't I ever learned? Well, the best way to live is when you feel that you haven't learned everything. Every day, I'm still learning something new today. They say that if you are everyday learning attitude, in that attitude, you stay young till the end. You stay refreshed. Your brain stays alive. So that we saw in Dari Janki. That's why she stayed till 104. She always had the attitude of learning. And can you imagine, from India, she'd only studied till standard 3. And she'd been able to, at age 60, start to learn English when she came to the UK. Now, which 60-year-old, I don't know many who started to learn a new language. By age 60, they say, we're old, we don't learn anything now, it's too hard to learn. So, and I've watched her how she even practiced speaking English out from a text. Each sentence with focus and attention, reading again. That's why her memory was good till the end. And so the attitude of learning helps one to grow and stay fresh. And you can imagine how many she would be able to connect to in her lifetime because of that attitude of learning and growing. So it, for me, is an example to what extent have I had that same zeal and enthusiasm in keeping on learning. No, I'll start again. No, I'll start again. So that is education. Having this attitude to start again. Because you're never going to lose. You're always going to gain. And you're always going to grow in wisdom and experience. And that, for anyone, is valuable. In the old days, I would say now the 80s, when we were learning in school, coming back home, how much we cherish those encyclopedia books. In our home, especially, we had this huge library in our home. All the books. And those days, books were very rare. I don't know if you know that, but it was very rare. There would be, coming from Mombasa in Kenya, there would be a floating library ship that would come once a year to the port. And that library would carry all the books of the world, because that ship actually went to all the different ports around the world, carrying different books in and out. So one could go and buy, and we as a family would definitely make a point to go with this big trolley, I remember, and the whole family unit would be in the ship, and each one would take whichever books they wanted. So those books were then in our library at home. And you know, knowledge was cherished. Those books were like memories that we would create and hold and work with. Now, see, the world has changed. Google, God is in the palm of our hands. You know, we have every encyclopedia around the world tip over in 1 second. What information we do not have. And so now that's becoming very common. But what's going to be in the future valuable is each one's personal experience of what they have learned through their journey. What's real to them. And that's what souls get fueled by, is their real stories, their real life learnings, their eye-opening moments. And when they're shared and listened to, that's how we begin to naturally fuel our happiness. Because we've learned. We're sharing our learning. You know, information is just not in a textbook or in a Google. So those physically here would have a different experience to those online. But learning attitude. And that increases the value of the intellect. And once your intellect increases value, they say that study is the source of income. And when you want income, have the attitude to be open and aware and learn. But for learning, one requires a lot of courage. Where does courage come from? And so to be in a state where you're elevated meaning detached observer. I detach my vision from the present situation and I observe it as if I can see the past, present, and future of it. And that's the pure state of soul consciousness, where I am an observer and I am a witness to that situation. And when I am, you begin to emerge the most beautiful qualities. Why? Because you begin to see who you are as a person. You begin to see others as a person. And you begin to see the reality. It's like as if you were sitting on top of the bus. And, you know, if there's a traffic jam, one can see all the situations. Back, front, side, left. But the one who's in the car cannot see the situation. Cannot see the traffic, cannot see the jam, cannot see the problem. And so, detached observer, and I'm above. I'm elevated above. And so the attitude of understanding that we in this world as a soul are in this bigger picture of the drama. And Shakespeare said this, that this world is like a drama. That the earth is the stage and we are the actors. And the sun, the stars, the moon, they're like the spotlights of this whole world. And so if that vision of, yes, I am an actor and I'm playing my part with all the other actors, they are my brothers and sisters, I connect with them. But within that, what's my script? What quality of my script am I performing on the basis of? And the beautiful thing is, you are in full happiness and full right to draw your own script. Every moment you take in silence, pause, go inside, connect yourself as a beautiful, peaceful being, and then observe. Come from that detached observer point, then observe. Then put those thoughts you have in words, then in actions, and then see how elevated your life becomes. But how many of us take the time to do all that? How many of us take the time? Very few. And when I was studying this word elevated, you wouldn't believe what emerged. The word elevated, for me, connected to, I don't know if you've watched The Master Chef. Have you ever watched The Master Chef? It's a very famous cooking program, competition-wise. And sometimes I doodle in and watch it and doodle out just to see how these kids perform. You know, they're very smart and they're teaching them how to compete and cook the best. They're picked out and selected, and they have these celebrity chefs, you know, really helping them and coaching them to emerge the best out of them. And each time they've made an item or a dish, the judges would see that and they would actually say, okay, you can elevate that dish. I would like, or we would like you to elevate it each time. That word elevate would come in. And how they would elevate it is you can do something more with it. You can actually increase this flavor, or you can increase this color, or you can change this way it looks and designs, and you can make it more refined. I would have sieved this. I would have heated this a bit more. Before I would have done that. So there are these certain tips and tricks they would apply to make it even more flavorful and colorful and give the experience of home, give the experience of touching the heart and the emotions that they want to come back and have more. So elevating something requires effort, requires intelligence, requires that little extra, attention, I would say. But for that, you need to be a detached observer. You need to come out from what you think is right. You need to come out of doing things the way you've used to done. You need to come out of thinking that you're the best and everything is supposed to be right because I've already done it the way I've best to my. And you really have to push yourself to then see the bigger picture. Then yes, I elevate. I go beyond the dramas and the situations and I become the expert. I reach excellence, not only success. And so in my life, if I want to create a life of excellence, it is important to build that awareness in my system. And that's the practice of Raj Yoga meditation. The practice is what? What do you think? Why do you think we meditate every day? I think it's a good thing to do. That's why we're doing it. Like essential to do. If you don't do it, then you'll be sick. We are constantly aiming for perfection. Perfection on all levels. Perfection on the level of attention of thoughts, perfection on the level of our attention on the quality of words, perfection on the level of our quality and attention on actions, and perfection on the level even whilst in chaos, in situation, in turmoil, how to perform to the best of our ability, and to get to learn what is still there that I need to keep clear of. And so meditation is a way to become honest with yourself, to see your reality, to accept, yes, it's my issue. No one's responsible. I need to work on it. And that's the last part then, to enrich. How am I going to enrich myself? Just simply by knowing I'm a soul and simply being aware that I'm in the drama of life, I'm in the bigger picture anyway, I'm an actor, and that I need to play my best part. To enrich, you require even higher attention, because I require the help of the divine. It's only today in the morning we have teachings, and in today's teachings it was this, that fortunate are those who actually get to remember that one. Fortunate are those who get to remember that one. Nice, isn't it? You want to feel enriched. You want to feel rich inside. Just to feel. You don't have to do anything. Just to feel rich. What do you need to do? You simply need to remember who you belong to. And who are you? You're a soul. So who do you belong to? You belong to the Supreme Soul. And so when I remember who I belong to, I feel very rich. Why? Because that one, the Supreme Being, the Supreme Soul, is the owner of all owners in this world, is the director of the entire drama, is the one who is the multi-zillionaire of the world. Priceless, can't even calculate the years, beyond the years, countless. And I am that one's child. Now, how rich do you feel? Just to remember whose child you are. The most perfect, the highest, the one who has all the qualities, unlimited. And I am that one's child. I don't have to do much. I simply have to remember whose child I am. And the moment I remember whose child I am, I don't even need to defend God. I don't need to prove to anyone I'm God's child. I simply need to remember whose DNA I'm carrying at the soul level. And my intoxication, my words, my thoughts will resonate and reflect. And so the inner richness of the soul is present, is felt when I remember who I belong to. But if I begin to still connect to human beings and say, well, this is, so-and-so relative and so-and-so colleague and so-and-so, friend or so-and-so, if I still work at the horizontal relationship level all the time, it's chance that I forget whose child I am. And that's when everything goes wrong, because I'm forgetting that those relatives, those friends, those colleagues, they are also the child of that one. They are equally as valuable to me as that one is valuable to the one above. And in that awareness, I begin to emerge that value and richness. So I only am not the one connected to that one. They do have a spiritual umbilical cord connected to the Supreme. They too have a full right to belong to God, to that one who has all qualities. They too have that one's love within them. Maybe they just forget, or maybe I haven't reminded them. Or maybe it's their drama, their part, right? So each one of us are in the same boat in this world. Each one of us have weaknesses, each one of us have strengths, and each one of us are working towards perfection. And so when I begin to understand that there's a season for everything, everything goes in seasons, and that when something goes up, it will also come down. When it goes down, there's no fear. Why? Because I'm going to go up again. So I need to create happiness on all levels. Even with my emotions, if they go up, they're in a very good state. For some reason, something comes and it does dip. Okay, it's dipped. The deep acknowledgement and acceptance, it's gone deep. And that, okay, we can get out of this, up again. Knowing there's a season and a cycle, up again. Where are you going to go? There's no fear. There's that fearlessness that emerges. I come up again. I come up again. And where will I go? Like a bicycle, just keep going forward. So the danger isn't going to see back. Don't see the past. Learn from the past. There are beautiful moments that one must never forget. There's so many moments that one can remember that can create life. Never forget. I always remember those teachers in my life who've taught me such wonderful things in wonderful ways. Let me hold that. Let me appreciate that. And let me always have this aim. May I receive such wonderful teachers in the future too. And I appreciate that. And so when my relationship with myself and that one begins to clear. Yeah, and I'm sure something that, relationship and everything starts to go funny. It's very, it can go in any direction because we don't know what emerges inside us and when and how. But all we do know is it's important to increase the quality of love in your heart. It's important to keep the power of love fueled. Because what is the difference between a very ordinary person who has nothing, no life, lifeless? All of us have a lot of life in this room and the ones online because you're all on the internet, so you have a lot of life. Imagine those who have no life. They are really stuck, starving. They have no self-respect. They really have poverty beyond poverty in their system. They're just trying to survive. What will be the quality of their awareness? How much bitterness would be sitting in them? How much doubt would be sitting in them? How much fear would be sitting in them? How much lack of trust and lack of virtues and powers would be sitting in them? Think, am I taking a moment to spread vibrations of good wishes and love to them? Or am I wasting my time criticizing and judging and thinking, well, I have to run this business, I have to run this family, and I'll do anything to get it done? Am I in that rat race? What am I really doing? I have a lot of wealth. What am I doing with it? How am I actually using that power to empower such souls who are powerless? What am I doing? And so the founder of the organization, Brahma Baba, really had this vision to empower souls. Of course, guided by the Supreme Soul, but his vision was to uplift those who are powerless, who had no self-respect, and give them self-respect through the awareness of soul consciousness. And so this is one of the things that till today fascinates me. Don't know who's been to Mount Abu, to the Brahma Kumaris headquarters, but it's amazing. Outside the headquarters, the building, just outside as you enter the gates, 3 complexes, 2 on the top of the mountain and 1 big one at the bottom. And none of them have any beggars outside. None of them have any tobacco vendors or alcohol vendors outside. And yet if you go to any place in India, whether it's temples or any place, you will see those type of people. And it's amazing to think, I still think, well, how is it? It's because of the vision of Brahma Baba. Change not only the person by giving him food and money, change the entire life, the way the person lives. So don't feed the poor. Transform them by giving them a new way of living. Transform the way they think. Transform the way they speak. Transform the way they perform action, and transform the way they see life. And that's why you will see none of the BKs will be ever giving just money to the poor. They will be encouraging them to come and listen to transform their thoughts, words, and actions first. They would be encouraging them to have a timetable that is giving them health and happiness. They will first educate them, and that's why all the courses at the Brahma Kumaris are free of charge. Nobody can say that because there was a price to the course, that's the reason we couldn't come. And so poverty isn't encouraged in the organization. If you are poor, then you're encouraged to increase your wealth. You're encouraged to let go of your poverty consciousness. You're encouraged to share your wealth if you are rich. You're encouraged to be happy and stay happy. You're encouraged to see the weaknesses that's stopping you from still having bad relationships. You're encouraged to take life positively. And that's why all these talks and lectures and courses and meditations. So that community and society and people are totally uplifted from all angles. They're not just fed. That, okay. So Daddy Janki taught us this. She taught us that which one earns more income? The one who simply gives a bag full of nuts from a factory of nuts? Or the one who takes that bag of nuts, who actually goes and crushes those nuts, makes a sweet out of it, cuts them in pieces, packs them individually, and then distributes them with love? Who makes the most effort? Obviously the one who handles the nuts, not the one who's just brought it, because for them they have so many nuts. And so, how much charity am I doing deeply from my heart rather than just from my head? Both are important. But with which intention am I accumulating my good actions? Because whatever I accumulate in my good actions, whatever you sow, so shall you reap, is coming back to you. And that's the eternal law. Whatever love you put into any action that you perform, that very same love is going to come back to you. And then the opposite. Any action you perform out of ill feeling, unfortunately you will have to eat the cake of it. Nobody else. And so have I understood spiritual law and the eternal law that is naturally in place? No matter which religion, organization or family you're from, it's a law. It's in operation, and I need to learn about that and work with it, because it has many plus points, and this from age 13 was very fixed in my intellect. I will never do any actions that give sorrow, because I'll have to eat sorrow. I will focus on actions that give happiness. And if by chance my nature, that I don't know from where a blind spot hits me, I will have to sit and learn and watch it. I will have to sit and transform it. It is going to be my responsibility. I cannot blame anyone. And God, Baba, here we go, Baba. Baba, you are with me. We're together on this journey. We will work it out. And so when I begin to transform and change, and I begin to learn, what's going to come back? More happiness, more moments of enlightenment, and more moments of wisdom. And that's why today I can sit and share with all of you. Right? And there is a thing that when you practice something and you share that very practice, and I'm so appreciative of Inner Space, Wembley, giving me a platform to share, and it's such a privilege to even work with them at the same time. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I have so much happiness. I'm so grateful to be here. Think about the happiness of sharing wisdom. And I don't consider myself to be someone who's so highly well educated in the world out there, in that type. Don't have a PhD or that type of accreditation or academic awards, because somehow you think people would listen if you had all those awards and. So how much love did God have for me and the drama have for me? It happened on the basis of loving and knowing who God is and what this drama is all about, that vision. And so that's the beauty of this organization. That's the beauty of this way of living. That they always appreciate that anyone who comes into this space is considered to be God's child, equal, to have the permission to learn, to grow, to change, to move forward and contribute to world transformation through their own transformation. And there is that benefit, because when we do it, and we're doing it with others, and others are coming and taking value from it, that power reaches out in the community and the family. So I'd like to stop here and just pause. Pause for a minute, go into silence again, and just digest what you've just heard. And after that, we'll just have a conversation, see if you would like to ask any questions or make a comment, okay? Okay, Om Shanti. So anybody like to share anything?
Thank you. There are actually two things I'd like to ask you, but I'll ask you one at a time. The first one is, you were talking about feeling rich when you are connected to the Supreme Soul, and I completely understand what you're talking about, how one can feel all those inequalities and spiritually enriched and feel a happiness and a sense of fulfillment, etc., from all of that. So you can feel that, but on the human level, one can be feeling that spiritually, but if you haven't had any work for ages, and you're someone like me that is dependent on someone else employing me, being an actor, and it's just not working out, that you're not getting the jobs, and you've got bills still to pay. You know, you can't turn around and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, they decided not to cast me in that." You've got to meet all your responsibilities. And also, if there's like an ongoing illness, as with my mum, who had a stroke and is actually, there isn't going to be any up from coming down. It's not that she's gone down and she'll come up again. She will not come up again. It's very distressing to witness the slow deterioration. I can look at her as a soul, but I'm just talking about trying to incorporate the humanness, because we are here having a human experience as well. So one can feel spiritually enriched, but what level can we take that to, so that it can infiltrate the humanness of maybe sort of slight despair at times?
Such a wonderful question. Like, we are living the reality of, facing. And I'll give you an example. Just last year, it was in October, and I flew in specially to come in also to do service to my own family. and my uncle was in hospital, and he'd been there for a few months, and so it was critical for the family to help. It was in a stage where we didn't know what to do and how to help and in which direction to take. Nobody knew in the family. And you can imagine we're in the center, and we've never in our life gone to our family to do anything to help in any level. But there was something that started within our family, because we're all meditators, so that helped. And what we began to do, one thing is to be a meditator and know how to meditate and teach somebody how to meditate. That's a different thing. But another thing, it's when it's happening to your own family, and now you have to take action as part of that family, because now there's a need, there's a call that you have to go and help. And it's a challenge, because it's easy to help someone else's family. You're very detached. Now suddenly, okay, your family. And what my cousin did, she was very sharp. She started 4 o'clock meditation on Zoom for the whole family. So whether they were in India, whether they were in the US, or whether they were here in London, wherever the family members were, and whoever was our friends in contact, got them all on Zoom. Even the centers knew, got them all on Zoom. Whoever had time came on at that time, 4 to 4:45. We meditated together at that time, 4 to 4:45. And as soon as she started that, and as soon as we all connected, his health started getting better. It was so clear. We knew that that was the only thing we had to do. We just had to meditate. There was no other option. This soul, this uncle needed spiritual power. Not only him, we all needed it. And the only option and only way we could have kept calm is connect to God, and to do it early in the morning at 4. And he got better. He came out within 2 months later. And he's so good, you cannot imagine. He can walk around even in the supermarkets, nobody will know he's a patient. It's amazing. And what the doctor saw, he was almost about to go. We all knew, the day he stepped into the house from the hospital, we all became so emotional and broke out, because we thought his, last days were going to be there. It was just an amazing experience to show that in crisis, you need to take out time early in the morning to meditate. For us, that was the solution. And if you're willing to do that, you have to experiment and explore how desperate are you with God. And that's one example. Another one I can share with you is when I had issues with immigration in other countries at some point. I remember I said to him, look, if you need me in this country, then you perform. I'll do my work at 2 in the morning and sit in meditation and collect all the spiritual power that I need in me. And you have to do the part that I don't know. So if you need me to have the visa, it's up to you. The drama can perform. If you don't, then don't worry. There'll be another place that you'll need me to perform here. I was very clear with that one. 2 o'clock in the morning, but I made that effort. It is something you need to make effort for, that you have to challenge your inner self with. And have faith and trust in that silence, because what's the language of God? It's silence. But it does require you to push the boundaries of laziness and, norms. You have to push your boundaries. Even if it's so difficult, you have to really, to the level of your, depth and trust and faith. Very few, and that's why we encourage you to come to the center, because without the center's vibration and love and family, very hard to do. And that's why I keep connecting to those who meditate every day, because that also helps us. We couldn't have done it without the center. We needed their love and support and good wishes too. So never do your karmic accounts alone. Always have your well-wishers around you. Don't cut them off. Always appreciate them, even though they may not appreciate you, it doesn't matter. Even though they may not have time for you and don't speak to you, it doesn't matter. They are at least there physically, isn't it? Appreciate them, they're wandering around you. At least they're there in your WhatsApp. Appreciate they haven't cut you off from their WhatsApp. They are there a second away, a button away. Appreciate who you have, and they are there for you. So when I appreciate and I connect and I stay in that, yes, impossible can be possible. And they say those who wake up early in the morning, especially between 2 and 5, they have the power that anything that's impossible can be possible. And I have seen that. I literally have seen that. Miracle happening. And that would be my tip.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was, you know that thing, I've often heard this, you know, what goes round comes round, and anything that you do karmically, that if you're kind and it will come back to you. I have seen that not be the case so many times. I know several people, they're nice enough, one of them's a friend of mine, but they would no more help anybody else or do anything of any kind of spiritual generosity whatsoever. They're quite well off, they're very happy, they really do enjoy their lives, but would not put themselves out that much for anybody unless it was their children or something. And so are we supposed, and by the same token, I've seen other people who are just like walking saints, really, that have a very, very difficult time. So are we to assume then that the karma will happen in another lifetime? Because I don't see it happening to certain, they're on their way out already, you know, they're like coming up to 90, so I don't see it happening for them in this one, with their lack of generosity. So will it happen in another life?
Yeah, we don't know. It could be another life. We don't know, do we? We can only hope the best, that if it's not in this life, then maybe in next life the lucky stars will open. But all we can do is to encourage them to appreciate and to acknowledge, that's all. And by that we have to start with ourselves first, with them, so they get to see the result of it. And you know, sometimes it's just nice to appreciate them as they are. And maybe they don't need it. So every actor has different levels. Not all actors will be at the same level, which is also okay. There are those who are not going to be spiritually inclined. There are those who are going to be spiritually inclined. But we know that everyone is a soul anyway. We just don't know what quality and type and style they may be. So that's okay. That at least that one knows. But let me appreciate them for who they are, the way they are, and the gifts that they're coming with. Appreciate what they're actually contributing, in which way. And it doesn't matter if they're not that philanthropic. It's okay. Maybe it's not in their lucky stars. Or maybe they don't need to. Some don't need to be. They don't feel the need. That's also okay. But my relationship with them mustn't change because they don't do that. My relationship is to see, wow, they are also child of that one. And they are reflecting a different color. Let me appreciate what they have. What all souls in front of us are there to teach me something. What have I got to learn? What's the missing puzzle that telling me that I haven't got, that I can get? You know, what is it that I can learn from them? Not what they haven't got. Because also there are many things I haven't got. You know, they may see that in me. So it is a two-way, you know, learning. I hope that answers your question there.
Yeah, it does. It was just that thing of if people, you know, if people are kind and not very nice things are happening to them, you just think, well, that doesn't sound like the law of karma. What you put out, you're getting back. And people who aren't very kind, who are having all kinds of lovely things happening in their life, that, I mean, the friends that I've got that aren't philanthropic, I still adore them. I just accept that's who they are. But it is that kind of thing where you think, wow, you just more and more and more seems to come into your life. And you just, that's when I question the law of karma. And I think, well, obviously, who knows what your past life was? Who knows what your future life? I assume that that's the way it works.
Yes. And everyone has their phases. Everyone goes through their phases. Good. Anyone else? Thank you.
When you say to practice being a detached observer, do you mean to practice detached observer from your thoughts or from situations in life?
We can be a detached observer of situations. That's easy. Just like a police officer would come to a certain, situation in the traffic, and it's a detached observer, yeah. But there is also a part of you that can observe your thoughts also. The soul has the ability to observe its own thoughts, because you're coming from a space of deep silence, and you're connected to God, the Supreme, in deep silence. There's a part of you that is able to see and sense the thought that's in front of you. And by then you have that power to discern. You can see which thoughts are real. You can see which thoughts are false. But it takes time. So not everybody will be able to see their thoughts, because it's like so many thoughts. Now how am I going to see them? But that is why we say it's a journey. Every day, keep going in silence and keep tapping into yourself and keep connecting yourself and reminding yourself who you are. Eventually, you will begin to have a grip over the thoughts that come. And then when you write those thoughts, in that silence, you begin to see what type of thoughts are sitting in your mind. And that's what we call the chart. We chart our thoughts every day. And sometimes if you use either the word chart or the word writing a letter to God, what are your thoughts for the day? Every day, if you have that aim, you begin to become in control of what is inside there. You're observing your own thoughts, but like I said, it takes a lot of courage to face your own thoughts. And if you're willing to do that, yes, our aim is to be master of our mind. Our aim is to be the Raj Yogi, the Raja, the king over the mind, the intellect, the subconscious, and the five senses. That's our aim. And so when you begin to observe your thoughts, begin to appreciate and understand which one you're going to pay attention to and give life to, and which one you're going to not give attention to. And slowly, slowly, those which don't, perform much, they won't even come to you, because you have so much grooved thoughts and, attitudes of positivity. The others, very quickly, they set aside.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else?
Just really quickly, you said the 5 a.m. meditation. So is that what we do here, like at the end of our class? Is that what we would do?
Sorry, I can't hear your question.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So the 5 a.m. meditation you were referring to, is it just sitting for an hour with yourself, talking to God? Is there like something you need to do? Is it focusing on the light? Do you know what I mean?
The early morning meditations really are there so that you empower yourself. You have this beautiful conversation with God early in the morning. The first thing when your eyes open, what would be your ideal? Good morning, Baba. It needs to be that real sweetness, morning. And that love that, yes, I'm alive, I'm breathing. Real deep love. Thank you. Yeah. And now let me sit with you. The first thing, so when I get ready and get fresh and then meditate, I sit and I really focus on that one. It's as if in the beginning it will be deep silence. And that deep silence is what fuels the soul. Remember, the soul is made up of peace. And so that is the silence I'm looking for, not the sleep silence, not the silence of going drowsy in the morning, not that, but that deep inner silence of just sitting with the soul. and sitting with God, the Supreme Soul, and just absorbed in that love. I'm not going to need to think anything more than that. Anything more you take your thoughts into is still going into the mundane. I don't even need to entertain those thoughts. Isn't that lovely? I really need to collect the spiritual power as much as I can. And if you can hold it for 15 minutes, that's a great start. It doesn't have to be you'll sit for a whole hour because you're just starting. Start first with the 15 minutes. That's enough to fuel your whole day, and do it properly. But it depends on how you sleep at night. That will determine how you wake up in the morning. You've cleared all your thoughts at night so that those thoughts don't disturb you in the morning. You know where you're at, and you know what you have to do the next day. Get that all out of order. Get it organized. Then in the morning, when you sit in that silence, it's not empty because you're not supposed to sit there with nothing. But God, I want to experience your sweet love. And I am a loving child. I am that soul. You remind me who I am. And because of you, I remember who I am. That loving conversation. Who is that one? Yeah? And that's important because the first thing you do in the day, it will fuel every memory and thought and action and relationship during the whole day. But imagine you don't have that. You're starting with crankiness, irritation, stress, anxiety, and you imagine that's fueling your whole day. And then you're saying, I can't meditate. How are you going to meditate? Can't face the challenges. You need superpower. You're welcome. Okay, so it's time, and we'll do a few minutes of meditation to end. So sitting quietly, I relax my feet, my back, my hands, my face. My shoulders. Breathing in and breathing out. And in this space, I take my awareness away from the outer world of sound and bring it into the inner world, where I, the soul, the point of light, am situated in the middle of my forehead, behind the eyes, sparkling and shining and bright, radiating the energy of peace, love, and truth. I, the soul, am connected to my inner dignity. And from this awareness, I travel beyond this room, like a flying bird, beyond this city, this continent, this globe, beyond the universe, way up where I connect to the soul world, the world where my Father, the Supreme Soul, the incorporeal one, who we call Baba, is present like a shining star, radiating light and might like a laser in all three directions. I begin to absorb and enrich myself with all qualities, powers and virtues. I breathe in the qualities of love and peace and bliss. Allow every part of your being to be absorbed in this vibration. And now, from this connection and relationship, I thank the Divine and travel back down with this spiritual power. And as I carry this power back down on earth, back to this globe, I consciously give this power to all souls of the world, to nature, to the elements, the power of good wishes and good feelings. Visualize yourself as God's instrument, sharing and radiating this energy of God's love to all in the world, those who need, and visualize that love empowering and uplifting and making those who have no value into valuable, shining beings. Visualize God's love being absorbed by those who have no hope and they're becoming hopeful. Visualize God's love awakening the ones who are ignorant, the ones who have no power to become knowledgeful and powerful. And in that, I create elevated actions to bringing my thoughts and attitude to a positive disposition. Coming back into this body like a shining light. I allow God's love and light to radiate through my entire being, my entire body. And now visualize that light touching all the different family members in my own family, healing them, transforming them and giving them life. Visualize that light bringing hope and enriching and uplifting. Shanti.
Thank you, Sister Kanan, for wonderful talk and all the tools and tips given. Our next week talk is same time, same place, and the topic is respecting mind, body, and soul. Product of the week is nurturing with love and wisdom, disciplining with peace and respect. The book, very lovely book, and I think it says a mindful guide to parenting. So all be available in the shop, so you can browse through on your way out. And thank you for joining us, and have a safe journey back home. Thank you.
Thank you.